Managing parenting disagreements with a partner. This is today's subject. In today's video, we'll be delving into. Okay, so why parenting disagreements happen? Different upbringing, values and parenting styles, stress, fatigue and external pressures, personal preferences or perceptions of what's best for the child. Now look, here's the thing, and I've said this in many videos I've done in the past. When two people come together, they collaborate. The whole idea is to collaborate and find a way of strengthening the relationship and resolutions, especially when it comes down to conflicting times. It's inevitable that two people are going to come together and they're going to have different ways of doing things, different procedures, different outlooks and processes. What we have to do is work together. We have to be unified and look for resolution. And the thing is this, we're not against each other. There's no who has a better view or who has a better way of doing things. No. They both can work if we come together. And this is the key here, because when you are consistently working together rather than working against each other and you're collaborating, it strengthens the child's sense of security and stability. It's all about healthy conflict resolutions, because when we're able to model this and show respectful behavior, our children will watch and emulate that as they're growing up as well, because we have a direct impact on their relationships of how they carry themselves, conduct themselves, and how they deal with differences and resolve conflict. So it's all about acknowledging each other's differences, understanding and respecting diverse parenting styles, because there's never one module or one mode that fits all. No, it's always about exploring, navigating, learning and finding out what works and what doesn't, and keeping the most effective ideas, using the most effective ideas and processes, procedures that work best for your situation. And in life, we're always going to have different approaches, and we have to embrace this. So, for example, one partner may be more lenient, the other stricter. Find the balance that works for both. I'll give you an example of this, bedtime. So one parent might say, okay, I'm going to send the kids to sleep at 8 o'clock. The other one might be a bit more lenient and say, well, you know what, I want to spend a bit more time with them, so let's send them at 9 o'clock. What do you do in those situations? There's a bit of give and take. You have to be flexible. You don't always have to be rigid and strict all the time. When you're able to be flexible, you're able to adapt to any situation and any circumstance. And that's the key right there. Sometimes you give, sometimes you don't. And it has to be a two-way thing as well. And that's how you can resolve or minimize conflict. It's about what is priority at that time. And in regards to priority, it's all about having an open communication. What does that look like? Schedule regular discussions about parenting, not just when issues arise. Use I feel statements instead of you always to avoid sounding accusatory. So what that means is this: don't finger point. It's not just about I feel. You can use other forms of communication. So for example, it might look like something like, I've got a suggestion, what do you think? When you communicate, you want to include the other person into that communication. So for instance, what do you think if we were to do this? I've got a suggestion that might work for both of us. See my communication, I'm including both of us, me and you, rather than saying, I know what's best, we're gonna do this. That's a bit selfish. You have to use a language that includes both to gain a better understanding and to have the resolution. It can't be selfish. So the other thing that you can do is to practice active listening. Really hear your partner's concerns. Don't talk about disagreements in front of the kids as well. Avoid undermining each other's authority. This is such an important thing to do, because when you start undermining each other in front of your children, then the children will become disrespectful. Then all of a sudden, you've got a hostile environment. You're against your child's against you, you're against your spouse against you, and the child is against the spouse. What do? It's going to affect so many different types, so many different relationships with you and your child, you and your spouse. So be mindful about how you carry yourself and conduct yourself in front of your children. Compromise and collaboration. Find a common ground. Find a common ground, agree on core values, then work out flexible strategies for different solutions. As I was saying before, you have to be malleable in each and every single situation, because the same rule cannot apply in every single situation. There's so many factors that will determine what step to take. It's not just my way or the highway. It cannot work like that. You can think like that if you're by yourself, but when it comes down to dealing with people, you have to diversify and be more open to ideas and suggestions, and looking for the most effective way of going about things. Be willing to meet halfway on certain issues. So for example, if one partner insists on earlier bedtimes while the other one wants more flexibility, they could compromise by adjusting bedtimes based on school or weekend plans. This is what I was discussing earlier on before about being flexible. Is it a priority? Can this situation allow for adaptability? Because in some scenarios, this is the dim situation and we have to go forwards. There is no ifs, no buts. That's all good in one particular scenario, but you can't apply that mindset in other scenarios. You have to be flexible. Managing conflict during stressful times. How external stress impacts parenting. Financial worries, work pressures, or family issues can make it harder to parent together effectively. Addressing external stresses can improve your ability to communicate and resolve disagreements. So this is all about trying to manage external things that may come your way, because whatever stresses that are going on externally, you're going to bring them into your relationship. So you have to be aware that there's things coming into the relationship as well, and you have to be able to separate the two. Work stays outside of the family time, family life. Family life doesn't go into work life. You have to know when to separate the two. There has to be boundaries. Yeah. So sometimes another way of coping with stress and conflict is to take short breaks from parenting duties to just recharge. There's nothing wrong with just taking a step back to just recharge your batteries, because by you recharging, you're able to reflect, you're able to refine things, and you're able to approach things in a better manner because you're a lot more calmer. And when you're calmer, you're able to make better decisions. The other thing that you can do is to seek help from friends and family. There's no harm in seeking help. We have to come out of the mindset of a set way of doing things, a pattern. We have to broaden our perspectives. And the thing is this, consistency is very important for the kids. Why? Because children thrive when they see both parents on the same page, even if it means agreeing to disagree on certain things. The kids need to know that you and your spouse are on the same page, because if they see the chink in your armor, they're going to look for all types of things to just bypass you, bypass each other. So you have to be mindful of this. Disagree and agree on rules and boundaries privately before enforcing them. Support each other in front of the children, even if you disagree on the approach. If there's a disagreement in front of the kids, calmly say, we'll discuss this later, and do so privately. So there's a time and a place to discuss personal things. If it gets out of hand, talk behind closed doors, but not in front of the children. Now, I'm guilty of this because I've been emotionally caught up in the past of arguing in front of the kids with my spouse. And we've learned from the mistakes, and we've seen the side effects that it does. A lot of disrespect could merge from this situation. The kids will only mimic your behavior, and when they mimic your behavior, when they grow up, they're going to be very disrespectful when it comes down to dealing with their spouse or their children. So you have to be mindful of this, because your behavior has a ricochet effect, a ripple effect. It gets passed down. The end.